In today's episode, we are going to make a really easy Christmas tree ornament out of 2 hexagons of fabric. And what's wonderful is you can use this for Christmas, but it also is the Star of David, so you can use it for Hanukkah as well. Many families celebrate both, so they might put some Hanukkah ornaments on their tree, or you could use this as a gift tag for Hanukkah, totally separate from Christmas. So I do love that this works for both the holidays, or you can make them for everyday gift tags, etc. Here is what you're going to need. You need a hexagon template. I'm using the 2¼ inch, and then you need 2 pieces of fabric. Usually you'll use one dark and one light. Rotary cutter, I like to use the rotating mat. It makes it easier to keep this still and cut all the way around it. Thread, scissors, sewing machine, ironing board, and then I do my hangers with embroidery floss. So let's get started. Now, as long as your fabric is large enough, you can cut these both at the same time. Now, if your fabric is pretty close to this size, it's a little harder to line up. Or if you want to fussy cut both sides, then you're going to cut them separately. But I'm not going to be fussy about where the snowflakes are on the back. Just going to have some random pieces, so I'm going to do it about there. But I do want a fussy cut where the gnome is going to be in the center. Just like this one has this cute little gnome in the center of the star. This one I'm going to have the guy with the gifts in the center. So I'm going to put this template down, and it's 2 pieces, but I do find it easier to cut with both pieces on there instead of just trying to hold this outer part without the inner part. I'm going to line this up so that the gnome and the gift are in the center, because all of this is not going to show. So we want to make sure that gnome shows in the center. Then I just lift up a little bit and make sure I haven't gone off the edge of my second fabric, because I just want to cut them at the same time. Then I'm just going to take my rotary cutter and I'm going to work around all of the sides. Whoops. Now we're going to put them right sides together. We need to sew around all but the bottom straight edge with a 1/4 inch seam. And hexagons can be a little bit tricky if you're not used to sewing them to know where you need to pivot for that 1/4 inch. So here is a trick. You can take a ruler and a heat erasable pen, put your ruler with the 1/4 inch line right along this line, and then just draw a little line on each end. And then as you're sewing, when your needle gets to that point, you know it is time to lift your presser foot, pivot your fabric, and keep on going. As you start to work with more hexagons, you kind of learn where your presser foot's going to be and get pretty good at guessing where that pivot is. But if you're new to this, this is really, really handy. So we don't need to do these 2 because we're going to start here. We're going to end here, and these will be parallel with your presser foot, but very handy to have them marked on those spots. Now I'm going to clip the corners, and because we want this to turn and have some nice points here, I'm really going to come down the edge. So instead of just going straight across like this, that leaves a lot of fabric to get into that little spot. I'm going to come at an angle from about halfway down our stitch line. So it really is taking a bit of the bulk out. Just make sure you stay away from your stitch lines and don't cut that. Now we're going to turn this right side out. And I am making this one out of flannel. You can also use cotton. Just totally depends what fabric you want to make your star out of. And these gnomes happen to be on flannel. I'm going to take my little turning tool and very, very gently push towards those corners, kind of rub against that seam, press that flat. Then we're going to turn this open edge under a 1/4 inch and press that flat also. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to head back to the sewing machine and we're going to sew across these 3 straight lines, and you want them to be pretty centered. So you can either eyeball it if you feel confident about that, or you can draw some lines, again with the heat erasable pen. We are going to connect the lines. So we're going to sew from here to here. And these are going to serve as the fold lines where you're going to fold that in to create that star. These are so quick and easy to whip up. I changed the top thread to white to match my top fabric, and I'm leaving the bobbin red since most of the back is red. So now we're just going to sew along all of these lines we just drew. And I went over, I think 2, maybe 3 of them twice on the side, just so I could only have one knot and just keep sewing. Now I have my mini iron ready to go, and we are going to transform this hexagon into this star ornament. The first thing we're going to do is just get some heat on there to get rid of those lines, the purple heat erasable lines. See, magic, love it. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold each of these points in kind of on that stitch line and try and get it to be as pointed as possible at these points, have them come in together. They're not always perfect, but you can get them pretty close. I'm just going to take some clips and clip these down. And then I have changed my top thread back to red because the last thing we need to do is we need to stitch just on top as close to the edges of these points as possible so that they're down like this. For the final step, I just took an 8-inch piece of embroidery floss and I'm going to just poke it through the top, pull the needle off, tie this in a knot, and then trim the excess past the knot to whatever length you want that to be. And it is done. Now we have 2 little gnomes to go on the tree. So here are 4 completed little hexagon star tags. These can be Christmas tree ornaments. You can use them as tags on gifts, just a little extra ornament on a present, maybe on a gift bag. And these were made with my Hanukkah Nights fabric from Riley Blake Designs, and these were made from the Gnome for Christmas flannel. This is from maybe 2 years ago, but still available out there different places. And the Hanukkah really shows you how you can make them look different by putting the lighter fabric on the inside versus the outside. It gives you a different look, but you definitely want to do darker on one side, lighter on the other so that that star really shines. Happy holidays!